Okay, Uncle is already here. Let's just put our hands together and celebrate him for the next session. You're welcome, sir.
Good morning still. We are still in the morning. It's a business builders program, so we're going to be very business-like. Like I told someone this morning, it's not going to be so that we don't look at the setting and the standing and it will look like it's another session of administration. No. So we'll be very business-like. So this session, it's driving through life changes. Driving through life changes. A lot of things are happening. We've had the first session. It just flows straight into this one. And in this session, really, we just want to look at it that, okay, fine. There are changes. What's actually change? And why do we have to change? After all, we hear from people say you don't change a winning team, isn't it? Just leave them. But is that really correct? That you don't need to change a winning team. Is that correct? Is that correct? Okay, let's take maybe football, for instance. This team has delivered 2-3 cups. 2-3 seasonal cups. Why do you want to change them? Any need? Any need to change them? They are winning. If you don't change, you won't discover others. If your opponent has studied their winning method, okay? So if they can change, does it therefore make sense that you don't change a winning team? So why do we say it? So what is change? And why do we really need to change? So those are things we'll be looking at. The only constant thing in life, they say, is what? Change. That's the only constant thing. So we'll be looking at that very quickly. This first series of our business builders program is quite brief because we just want to make it more like an appetizer where you have pressure on time. So it is just within 4 hours. And we want to be done so that you can still have a good use of your day. And under this session, we'll look at our mindset and life choice decisions. Our mindset and decisions we take in life. Why do we take those decisions? Choice of our life decisions. What drives them? And when we say change, what are the dynamics of change? Then we will look at scenarios thinking, scenario planning, and how we take economic decisions. We've had a critical part that said we must look into information, data analytics, which is what is ruling the world today. Data analytics. But let's break it down from the big grammar. That is, check, check, and check. What are you checking? Information relevant to your course of action. One of the things we have experienced in the move of God, in this assembly, and in so many other places, is that instead of taking critical analysis and understanding moments, issues, and as you decipher, it therefore guides you into actions and decisions to take. We take blind move, hanging on faith. Faith is good. Faith has its own place and position. But here we are. The Bible says that the children of Issachar, what did they do? There are 3 things. Don't let us rush it. 1, they understand what? The times. Were they the only children that time? There were other tribes, isn't it? But they were singled out. And it was remarked of them. They said, children of Issachar. They did what? They understood the times. We will break those ones as we go on. And then it now followed to the other one. You can understand the times and stay there. That will be position of many. Do we get it? They understood the times. Okay, the times we are in now, fuel crisis is in place. Fuel is now 760. Diesel has gone into 820. Oma de Gao. What is really going on? In fact, foreign exchange, they say it's now 950. These are the times. Some people will stay in those knowledge. In that box. It is, you are in that box. But something was added to them. They said, and because they understood the times, then they did what? They said they knew what Israel ought to do. They knew what Israel ought to do. Again, you can unpack that. That's again broken down into like 3 segments. One is what Israel ought to do. Then the question is, are they doing it? So it is easier. I was telling a friend 2 days ago, I said, one thing fantastic about us is that anybody in this move, we are so full of information that we can actually message, sermon, talk 3, 4, 5 hours. But the scriptures are rich for applicability. How well you can apply it. So we will look into those kind of scenario dynamics and then to guide us into what we'll do. And then we will be looking at thinking futures, skills and opportunities. Next slide. So what really is a change? There are 4 key things that defines humanity. Every other things are all associates of these 4. 1, your spirituality. Because that's where you take your bearings of life and living from. Your spirituality. 2, your physicality. How physically able you are. Speaking of your strength, speaking of your wellness, speaking of your agility, and then speaking of your healthfulness. How healthy, how physically vibrant you are. And then you have your economic, relating to your strength, your financial ableness, your liveliness to being able to be alive and well. And then your emotions, your feelings, your social integration, engagements, relationships, connectivity, all about your emotions. These 4, that's where you will see the scripture says that above all things, that you should be what? It said, I wish you were what? That I wish you are well and able. I wish you are of good strength. Even as your soul is what? Prospering. So the combination of these 4, any alteration to any of these 4 makes man in a state of discomfort. Any alteration in any of these 4 makes man in a state of discomfort. When you are spiritually weak, it's a massive door opening to all other things to do what? To encroach. So we say your spirituality enhances your physicality. It gives you some sense of clarity. We just heard now that Here you are, fire on a platform, 100 people there. Really, what would be your decision? That's just like the story of the 4 lepers. That's the story of the 4 lepers. They said to themselves, if we remain here, death is sure. If we move, there is war there. So, but we are so sure of where we are now that death is certain because there's nothing to eat. If we move, they say that's information. Might not be. Might be. So what did they do? They took a chance. And they did what? They survived. But some of us will say, hey, we will enlarge. We will enlarge that problem. And it will paralyze your mind to the intent that there will be no movement. Yeah? It will be so well enlarged, there will be no movement. Fear will dominate. And the mind is closed up. And that's one of the areas where problems lies. So we have a situation in which, in that state, nothing happens. So these 4 things are key. And then, if I ask us, every one of us here are going through different levels of changes. I know mine. You know yours. So in 1 minute, just look back into yourself and note down, what are changes do you think you are going through? Looking at these 4 critical elements is for your personal consumption. And those online too, try and note it down. What are, just look inward. Because some of us, it will amaze you, we're actually going through crisis, but we can actually not define it. I have met and talked with lots and lots. I coach. And people banged into my line. Hey, so, please, can I have 5 minutes of your time? I said, 5 minutes is a lot. But can it wait? No, this is really critical. Okay, let's take it on in 2 minutes. If 2 minutes will justify for you to have 5 minutes. And then it starts. In fact, I'm going through a lot, and I think it's beginning to give me mental issues. I'm going through mental. I say, wait. Let's unpack them. What specifically are you going through now that is compounding and complicating your mental structure? You will not understand. I really don't know how to put it across. If I can't understand and you don't know how to put it across, then how do I know? So when you go to a doctor and you say you have a problem, what's the very first thing the doctor says you should do? Run a test. Why test? To get some inside diagnosis analysis of what's going on in your entire physiology. And then he will still come back to you to ask, how are you feeling? So, in 1 minute, just write it down. What changes are you going through? Quickly, in 1 minute. If it's economic, state it clearly. Don't say economic changes. What? If it's physical could be ill health, could be headache, could be ulcer, could be anything. Just note it down. And if it's emotional, is it relationship challenges? What precisely are you going through? Okay. Okay, are we done? So we move on. Don't be afraid. I won't ask us to read. I won't ask us to read. Slide 3. There are 3 major changes we should really be looking at, and this should begin to show us where we're going. One is developmental changes. And when we say developmental changes, what do we really mean? Basically, this is when you actually recognize a need to make improvements. Improvements on your life. Improvements to an existing situation. Improvements to an existing business. Increasing your capacity, more like when you say capacity building, in order to be able to latch on an opportunity or to be able to take a grab. I make an example here. In all of this session we'll have today, there is one major factor that is crucial and critical to all, and that is actioning. What do you do with this seminar? What do you do with this program after now? What level of action? And that's why I said write certain things down. This is not just about fanciful talking or just to tease our mind. No, we actually desire a change, a real dynamic change. So this is to show us where probably you need to work on. Mine may be transformational, mine may be transitional, yours may be developmental. Know where you need to focus. But action is key. I give an example here. A friend shared about a billionaire friend. Not mine. A billionaire friend. And there's a multi-billionaire. He actually selects people he relates with. People, and we just heard about changing our ecosystem. If you move, you must have heard the story of what do you call the eagle with the birds in the cage. After a while, it takes for the eagle to be able to fly, knowing who it is actually in the real sense. We need to change away from live among the poultry birds, those chickens. Needs to leave the environment of the chickens and recalibrate his mind to know that, sorry, I don't belong here. I belong up there. Because for the first time they released the eagle out, was also behaving and walking around like the chickens. So if you don't change your ecosystem, you become what you have found and where you have found yourself. So this particular guy, he wanted to go somewhere. And he says, what's the situation out there? They say, sir, it's raining. Seriously? He said, yes, it's raining. He said, okay, what does it really look like? He said, this rain is heavy. Okay, that's fine. He just prepared himself. And he says, where are you guys? He said, and where he was going for an important meeting was close by. It's not somewhere you could drive. So he just said, okay, that's fine. Get me my so and so. And he changed, he removed his shoe, he removed his jacket, and he went into the rain. And he got to the meeting, drenched, and he sat down. And they said, sir, no, you could have waited. He said, no. He said, what needs to be done needs to be done. I need to be here because it is important to my day's plan and my project plan. I must be here. Can we get started? Is it still raining in here? They said no. They said, so let's get started. How will you take such a person? It's very simple. It's about actioning. We can write, we can read, it's about what am I putting into action? What am I seeking to change? And this is where many of us have issues in terms of procrastination, in terms of delays, in terms of so many things. But if we need to make a change, we must be prepared to take actions. So you need to recognize whether yours is a developmental change. And developmental change speaks of seeking and making improvements. Why sit we here until we die? If something is not working right away, I am probably into a particular line of business. Let me say painting. I remember Bro Tony here. And here am I. A lot of things are changing. What do I need to do to still find myself relevant in the global ecosystem? Some of us are so information loaded that we have become, by reason of those information, also paralyzed. And we begin to speak in the negative. I call it analysis paralysis. Let's start a discussion right here on Nigeria. It will amaze you. So many information you will be getting, and before you know it, we forget ourselves and people begin to speak in the negative. It doesn't work that way. Our brother speaks here and says that God changed my destiny. God changed my destiny. Everybody has been given. It is given. It is given. The victory has been wrought. All of us have what? Access. But how we are accessing now is a different. You can be reciting. Fantastic. It has its place. You can keep reciting. But I tell you, the work is in the doing. There are two economies. There was an economy that the people of God were used to in Egypt. And there, they labored and exercised all of their mental constraints in the midst of difficulties. And there was another place God has destined to take them. But because of what they have gone through in Egypt, they have been mentally imprisoned into a particular mindset, such that when it came to them that it's time for you guys to move, but where you are going, be assured, it's a land full of milk and honey. So assurances were given in where they are headed. He said, in that place, God even gave them further insights. You will not need to do this. You will not need to do this. You remember? He said, you don't need to do this. You don't need to. You have your largeness. Go and explore. The strategy that worked in Egypt will not suffice in Canaan. So there must be what? A mental shift. There must be a change in their mindset. But of course, what happened? The leaders appointed to drive that process, they were equally encumbered because they have been imprisoned by the old experiences. So whatever we have gone through up to this stage, we have been boxed into a state as though we are helpless. No, we are not. During COVID, people made money. It was a lockdown. People made money. And people can be complaining, but some people broke out and they never remained the same during COVID. People changed lines. In the UK, a whole clothing manufacturing plant, massive area. They suddenly realized that during COVID, in fact, that's when I first realized that we actually don't need many clothes. That was the first lesson I saw. Because you just realize that there are so many, almost about 80% of your clothes in the wardrobe were not used. They were not touched. So that was the first major lesson. I said to myself, enough. I changed also, I put a policy in place going forward. Anything, any clothes I have not touched in the last, 3 months is too short. I never have that deep pocket. I basically said to myself, if I open this place and in 1 to 2 years I have not touched you, you go. You just go. There's no, because I know somebody else somewhere will need it. So why hold it? This particular plant changed and turned into manufacturing of face masks, these PPP wear, safety wears, and they ran into billions. They started enlisting them for supply into worlds. But just like you saw about the pole bear and the dinosaur, but some people remained. They said, well, you guys, it's a very bad situation. COVID has affected us. So you guys will need to go, and we'll put you guys on roster. And we're so sorry. There's nothing we can do. Who says? Some persons suddenly remember that I know people that collaborated and set up a lab. 2, 3 people came together, other collaborative investment, and set up a lab. And they made money. Even Nigeria made money. So bad that it became difficult for them, in fact, to stop it. They really wish it can continue. So it just depends on where you are, how you are, what is guiding your thinking. We move on. Transitional change. This happens when you recognize the need to implement a completely new course of action. So you are moving from your present form of action into another. So it is a complete change, a complete shift. And questions you will ask yourself is, as I'm making this shift, the old skill, the old understanding might not help me in my new disposition. So what do I need to do? I know a friend who read history. He read history, a junior friend. And about 2, 3 years ago, he said, Egbon, it's like everybody is just shifting now towards IT. He said, so there's like, I said, history, IT. He said he will learn it all. Went into coding, bombarded himself, busy himself with YouTube, with everything was on, was just fighting it. He's in Manchester on an IT job, a very good job. He got a job from here. He didn't japa on an assumption that pounds and dollars are flowing on the streets of countries. And he is progressing tremendously. So if you are making a complete shift, that's transitional. So you need to know what you are to do. Again, transformational change, which is the predicament of the country as we are right now. This is, you look at the dynamics around you, the macroeconomy and the microeconomy, the nation at large and you in person. And you realize that there are a lot of things you have no control over. And it's affecting your well-being. You and I have no control on dollar price. It's left to the forces of demand and supply. Why is it behaving that way? Forget about the story that they chop money or that has happened. That's fine. I have no control over that. But I'm in it. So what do I need to do? Do you understand? I keep telling people around me, I say I've got to do something. I say because it is not even wise to lock down money in bank. It's been eroded. It's an erosion. So when you lock down money in bank, it is also going. The value of 1 million today is not going to be the value of of 1 million in about 2-3 months' time by December. We don't know where it's going. But again, it's not only Nigeria. Please put in the video. I just want us to see something. Maybe that will relax us. Yeah, just play it. I hope we can have a voice.
Dubai's prince thinks that someday people will get bored of Burj Khalifa, so he has planned some mind-blowing projects for the future. Number one is a giant ring that will surround Burj Khalifa, which will have a diameter of about 3 kilometers. The government of Dubai will invest $5 billion in this project, which will allow people to build their homes, offices, shopping malls, and other facilities inside the ring. Number two is the dynamic tower, which will be a unique skyscraper with 80 floors that will rotate 360 degrees all the time so that the residents can enjoy the wonderful views of their surroundings. Number three is Aladdin City, which will be inspired by the story of Aladdin and his magic lamp. There will be hotels, shopping malls, and other attractions that will resemble the Arabian Nights theme. There will also be parking spaces, which will cost around $15 billion to build. Follow for more.
Very fast. But there's something I just want you to pick out. Sorry, somebody said they should play it again. No, that will be later. But let's just pick some lessons. Dubai as a government, UAE. Sorry, Dubai is not a nation, no, it's a city. Inside United Arab Emirates. We don't hear of it's 7 Emirates that makes up UAE. But everybody hears what? Dubai. This is a place in a desert, dry place. And visionary leadership put them to say, we must do something. If not, where we are here, we will die. We will die. Oil is going off, so we are in the desert. We just have to do something. And dynamic thinking came into being. Now, first lesson. For those of us who have been in Dubai, or we've heard about it, there is Burj Khalifa. Burj Khalifa is an iconic building. People travel from all over the world to go and see Burj Khalifa. It's not just there as a statue of a structure. People are living there. Offices are there. Shopping mall, everything is there. You can actually, it's a place you may not be able to explore fully in 5 days. It has a life of its own around there. But it's been there for some years now. I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years. Or maybe about 10, 12 years, not up to 20. And the government has sat down and says, very soon, people will soon get tired of coming to see what? Burj Khalifa. What do we do? Their vision is tourism. That's what has sustained them. So if we are going to keep on attracting more people into this place, we need to do what? We need to do something new that will excite them to say, have you heard? He said, is it Burj Khalifa? No! There is a ring around Burj Khalifa. Not just a ring of about 200-300 meters in diameter. What do they call the diameter? 3 kilometers. Ask Bro Kwame what that is around the structure. What is the totality of the entire land space of Dubai? And inside this ring will be offices, shopping malls, homes, and what have you. That is thinking completely outside the box. And you know what provokes me? I take interest in things like this. Why? I keep asking myself, Olunubi, somebody is an architect there who is bringing forth this idea. He probably don't have Christ. He's thinking, what is provoking this thinking? Am I reading the right books? Am I engaging my mind in things that should provoke dynamic thinking? Why am I at this level? Somebody is thinking of a ring around Burj Khalifa. How? And then look at the other iconic building, 80 floors, and it will be if I rotating. Myself and my friend that saw the video, he said, "Come get out. It's not possible." I said, "You see, this is the problem." I said, as far back as 10 years ago, 10 or 12 years ago, I have been in a building in China On the 80th floor, that was rotating. That 80th floor was a restaurant. It's a world-class restaurant. I've been privileged to be there. And we sat down, and it's a rotating build. That floor rotates. It's not that you see yourself just beginning to shift like this and with your food. No. You are just in this view, and you can see this view, and seamlessly, you suddenly just see yourself that this is the view you are seeing now. It's rotating. So if they tell me they want to do an 80 floors of a swinging building, it's possible. What did the Bible say? Permit me to quote it. The Lord saw what the ancient guys were doing, Nimrod and his guys. And what was the word of the Lord to them? He says, No, there is a particular way that word was framed. What was it? Unfortunately, this is not Bible study. And I said, open your Bible. There's just... He says, He said, by the imaginations of these people's mind, he said, there is nothing that can stop them from achieving what they want to achieve. Which means that this mind is deep and rich. Your mind will define your destination. Whatever way your present is a function of your state of mind now. You are not seeing money, but I can tell you, if people are seeing money. So it is important for you to know that who you are is a function of the thoughts you carry. And that's where Mr. Amos, I don't want to say Bro Amos, was coming from when he says that, look, when you are saying that change my destiny, the right prayer is that change my thoughts. And David prayed that prayer. And what did he say? He says, renew aright what? My spirit. Renew. Because in other words, it means that his thought process led him into errors. His thought process opened his eyes into evil. He saw what he was not supposed to see, and he followed that trajectory. And he began to pray. He says, create in me a what? A new heart. A clean heart. And what? And renew aright. That's where you get the essence of unlearn. That is, dispose of all the things that has constituted your faculty. You need to dispose them off. And begin to do what? Relearn. The relearning process is a function of new studies, going into places where you can get information, relating with people that can impact you better, and then having a right association. I listened to one of the testimonies of one of the ministers of God, who is indeed a teacher too. You know, Sam Adeyemi. He says, one of the things that is key is he said it is good to have a mentor. And our brother mentioned it. Persons who can critique with you. Persons who can, your mind will not be like that king that says that, who can show to us what we need to do? They say, there's a prophet in the land. He said, who? Who among them? They say, he said, that one can never say anything good. That's also a mindset. It's a biased mindset. Many of us are in a state whereby we know people we can go to because we hear what you want to hear. And that's indeed our ruin. where you can hear a sincere counsel, my heart, but that will rejig you, you don't go there. I'm spending more time here on that particular slide because the rest is just merely explanatory. He says he went to his mentor when in his program, he said when he wanted to move into a bigger facility, he went to his mentor. And the mentor, he said he told the mentor what he wanted to do to be able to pull more crowd and other things. And his mentor, who is a well-known name, but let's spare all that, said to him, he said, oh, okay. Why would that be your best strategy? He said, the strategy was just basically inviting the big, well-known names into his meetings. They are automatically, as assumed, a crowd puller. So everybody will come and attend the meeting. And in attending the meeting, so they will gain some momentum. The man said, it's a good idea. But have you considered that you have a very notable guest speaker, so you have guest audience? When the guest speaker goes, the guest audience does what? Goes. So what then will have been so you are trusting for the trickles. Why can't you be a guest? Why can't you build yourself up? Because you have the grace in it. Why can't you enhance and develop yourself to be the main speaker? Whoever comes to hear you will do what? Will remain. Do you get that? In other words, you need to work on yourself to be what you really wish to become. Let's move on. If Dubai as a nation is already thinking that if we don't do anything, he said in the next few years, that crowd, they won't say, they have no affiliation with Dubai. It's like we heard in the first session. What is the what on the table? Huh? What is the value you are leaving on the table? It's value that draws. If I call, if I call Zonkushola Ajayi, if I call Brahimos and I say I have an idea and they all come around believing that Ola is a serious-minded person, and they respond to me and they sit down and they come and say, actually, why I call you guys is that I just want to share. Do you guys have any idea I can run with? Out of love and respect, they won't vex. But when I call them next time, what will happen? Huh? Why? They're already thinking that, look, in the next few years, we won't see people coming. Why? Dubai has opened the eyes of others around them and more. Do you know what Saudi Arabia is building? Do you follow the news? Oh, okay, I don't know who you follow. I follow things that provoke my mind. And sometimes, my wife is here, she will say, come on, what is it you are? I can just burst into prayers. Some kind of spontaneity. Because I just see what people are doing in different balance. And I'm asking myself, what am I doing here? Saudi Arabia is building, at the first instance, an investment of $500 billion for a new city. A complete new city. And they are on. They didn't just say it, it's on. And time-bound. What is in that city? They call it a linear city. It's like a line. And you don't need to commute. You don't need to drive. You don't need to do anything. People are thinking. Imaginations. And that's why the Bible says that renew what? Your mind. Why do you need to renew your mind? From what? He said, as you renew it, through which process? Process of the Word of God, information, association, new collaborative strength and partnership, energizing the untapped. What we are using in the conscious mind is just 20%. What is in each person, what is in you, Sister Kate, what is in you, everybody here, there is an 80% in the subconscious mind that is not used. It's just there, dying away. But these people are thinking, well, your question would be, well, they have money. I can bet you. The plan of Dubai here, I can tell you that they know where they're going to get the money from. What does idea do? Idea is like honey. It mobilizes. It just draws. If I have a very solid plan in place, and I call serious minds, and I say, hey, Uncle Shola, please, Bro Amos, I need your time. I have something I need you guys to critique, look into, and we sit down, and I send it to them. And they look at it, and I say, please, when can we meet? By what they are seeing, he said, yeah, okay, when do you want us to meet? I don't know if by this weekend, yes. How long will it take? Maybe about 2 hours. We may end up even spending 5 hours. And they can see it. And I'm telling them, hey, from Brahimos, I need 10 million. Please, Uncle Shola, please, I'll need like 5. I have like about 10, 15. I want to prosecute this with about 30 million. And they can see some basic things we are going to be seeing now in a speed as already dotted and crossed. They will still have things to add. And of course, those money they are giving me is not for free. Wherein I walk in a mindset that they are my brethren. Really? Really? Those resources cost money they are holding. There is an alternative use for them. Next slide. So, we come into mindset and life decisions. Our mindset, much as I have said, you're going to get the materials, impacts on our life decisions. Decisions we take. Our belief mentality. Our capacity to do. How many of us have read this book? How I Lost My Virginity. You see, all of us are already looking at me with one eye. This is supposed to be a business study. You are talking about virginity. I'm talking of a book. It's a real book. You see, they're even asking me that who wrote it. It's Branson, Richard Branson, the man that owns Virgin Atlantic. He lost his virginity. You see, it's a very big book. I have the book. How did he start Virgin Atlantic? That's the whole story. They were to go with friends and some other people. They were to go somewhere, and they got to the airport. Everybody was already there, and behold, unknown to them, the flight was cancelled. That's a problem, isn't it? What will you do in that state? Eh? Rant. I think that's the word. These people are just, you see, that's why nothing can work in this country. And he just positioned himself and said, ooh, cancelled? They said, yes, cancelled. He looked at the crowd, and he went in to go and meet the guys in the aviation. He was not in aviation. He says, where can I get, even the smallest of planes, where can I get it to hire? They say, oh, no, that will not be a problem. You can arrange this, you can arrange. And he hired an aircraft. And then, Who wants to go to? They say yes. And everybody started, oh yes. And they paid extra. And they went and they flew. And he came back. He said, this is business. He says, when they were announcing, he says, welcome to Virgin Atlantic flights. It has not yet been registered. There is no Virgin Atlantic in existence. But these flights, now they fly. Now Virgin own. And that was it. Some people will see problem and continue to talk about the problem and expanding on the problem, and they will be so capacitated enough that they can lecture on the problem. Whereas some other persons will look at what? Solutions. And just see how they can come in. Like I said, these are just more like teasers we're going to run. There are different mindsets here. We have fixed mindsets, we have growth mindsets. They are purely explanatory. There are people who have very fixed mindset, there are persons who have very growth mindset. We have optimistic mindsets and pessimistic mindsets. Pessimistic mindsets are risk averters. There is nothing you can tell them that, see, opportunity day here. They will be telling you, as you are showing it to them, they will be telling you the negatives. If you say so, but see, make I tell you, they say somebody drank milk the other time, 4 died. That man died inside prison. Say, why is it that one you are seeing? And I share this with you. A story about what you see drives what you become. A very well-known friend of mine went into golf training to learn how to play golf. And he's gone through the basic rudiments. And on this particular day, he went with his caddy. And he was still a rookie, an amateur. So he held the stick. And he looked forward. Then I said, any problem? He says, I'm seeing 2 trees. This says, but the tree is not your focus. You play your focus is on the ball and where you are going. He says, yes, I know. Okay. And he bent again. He went like this. He said, the trees are there. And you know what the caddy told him? He said, you are seeing trees because the trees are in your mind. He said, the trees are in your mind. The instrument in your hand, which I have given to you, has the capacity. You just hit it rightly. It has the capacity to take the ball up above it. He said, oh, I see. Okay. Not a problem. And he went, poof, bah, and he hit the tree. It actually hit the tree. He said, you hit the tree because all you kept seeing is the tree. A second example. A lady was playing basketball. Very skillful. And she did the unusual thing. Her husband was in the crowd. It's like a stadium. Was in the crowd. Far at the other end. You know how a stadium like can be like. I wanted to give her husband something. The place was filled up. But guess what? She could only see who? She could only see her husband. Right from the basketball court, she took the thing and focused on him in the stadium-like crowd, full, and just threw it. And it went up high, and it was straight to the husband. And it was him that caught it. It didn't go somewhere else. What you focus on is what you get. It's so simple. But we are in this ecosystem where we dwell more on wishful thinking. People tell me, yeah, there is this songwriter was gonna be. I say, no. Was gonna be may want to gonna be. Sarah, or how did they call it? I said, no. I'm going to change that song. It's not just going to happen. We've got to make a change. It's what I look at. On the slide, please. If you are pessimistic, everything will be pessimistic. And Bible says that even when good cometh, he said, what happens to them? He said, they seeth it not. May God help us on how we apply scriptures to our day-by-day life. One rich man once told me, he says, I always like to have meetings with you. I said, why, sir? He said, there is a way. He said, there's a way you make the Bible different from the same Bible everybody reads. I said, it's my guide and compass. Because that's where I take my beacon of thoughts from. And my encouragement and all that I do and I say. On the second bit, abundance mindset and scarcity mindset. Scarcity mindset is a survival mindset. We just hold on to the thing. And we don't want to take a move. Because there is so much fear. There is lion in the way. There is a lion in the way. When you see a man with an abundance mindset, he's investment driven. He's investment driven. All that, but he's ready to take the risks. Not blinded risks, but we call it calculated risks. And then we should have an open mindset and not closed mindset. Next slide. Scenario planning and economic choices. Here, a lot is always on our mind. Yeah? A lot. Ideas, plan, thinking of profit. Will I make money? There are all kinds of things. But nobody says that your journey is going to be smooth and straight. And as you start, it's going to be a trajectory that does go linear. Yes, you are going to have some high times, some low times, and you think that is the worst you've seen. It will just again further depress down. But when you get to the valley point, again you begin to do what? You begin to climb again. By every experience you are learning. Having a learning mentality, your capacity to review things. What's the difference between corporations and individual businesses? For some of us that work in big corporations. At the end of the week, there is what we call weekly review meetings, isn't it? What are you reviewing? There's an annual target. There's an annual plan. Yeah? There's an annual plan. And in the plan, okay, you've already said to yourself, we are targeting to make 100 million naira profit. That's good. You set it for the annual. And then you go to sleep. Everybody keep working. Everybody just keep doing everything. So you really don't know where you are. They say, how far have we gone? They say, no. There's no point looking at that now. Let's just continue. We will look at it in December. So January passed, February passed. How far are we going? He said, it's not necessary. Let's just continue. We already know what they say. No, it doesn't work that way. 100 million we target to earn in 2023. They will break it down into monthly. So per month, we are targeting about XY. We must make 8.5 million. They take that month 8.5 again and broke it down into what? Into weekly. They will take weekly and break down to where? Daily. So at the end of every day, there is a small unit of people, maybe in a branch, maybe in a location. They just look at it. Did we meet the day's target? Yes. The variance is a plus. Our target is 8.5 million. Wow, today is good. We made 10.2. There's going to be another day. It's probably 6.4. They will not fold their arms. They say, what happened? They look at it. That is what you call progressive planning, progressive reviewing. You don't dwell in wishful. The same thing you can apply to yourself in person, relative to your life decisions and choices. I have my plan every month. I have access to 500,000 naira monthly. Breaking it down into daily. Out of that 500, I am saving XY. I am investing XY. I am only available to spend, out of that 500, 200. 200 broken down into days is this amount. Period. So if my daily spend is probably 8,000 naira, and at the end of today, I have spent 22,000. Oh, I have overshot. But how do I know that I have overshot? You are what? But assuming you didn't break it down, your mind is just into wishful review. Yeah, 22. It's okay. I still have a lot. And you just keep going on. Before you know it, you are completely way off and out. So it is a strategic tool that you need. There is this thing we always say in business, and you can and you can please write it down, note it down. You cannot manage what you do not and cannot measure. Measurement drives management. What you measure, the same thing as little as Gary in the house. You are two people living in the house, and you have sent to buy 4 Congos of Gary, knowing well that this is for 1 month. Yeah? And then you have your cousin that visited you. He likes Eba in the morning. He snack on drinking Gary. He just likes, he said, what are you doing? He said, Shemo, I just like drinking Gary. But because you will react, he said, no. That Gary there is for what? So he said, no, don't go there again until Thursday. You are talking on a Tuesday. What is driving that thought? Because you have already measured. There's a scenario you've put in place. And you have equated it. So you don't want anything that can truncate it. So it's a strategic tool. And it involves analyzing your potential future events and potential impact on the person's goals and objectives. Next slide. These are guides in your scenario planning. Things, they are very self-explanatory. One, you need to identify key uncertainties. We heard a lot of it in the first session. Develop plausible scenarios. Let me give you a typical example of what is scenario planning. Like, for instance, we do. When we're setting up a manufacturing plant, we go from the design concept into operations. So we cascade all the costs, we pick all the costs, then we go into how we are going to use the working capital. Buying raw materials, what are you going to use it to produce? How many people will work there? You pick all these details and break it down. Having done all, you generate what you call your cash flow, your financial projections. In the flow, you are indicating your revenue goals and what are the expenses that are going to eat into that revenue for you to be able to establish either the gross profit or the net profit. You put everything down. Now, look at this. I'm just trying to let you see how the indices shared with us in the first session impacts on your day-to-day. So I'm going to pick one index, the index of foreign exchange. So in the planning, in the entire manufacturing financial plan, we have already assumed, there are assumptions you've created. Those are the things you call taking your future outcomes. So we pick assumptions. You are not there yet. So you pick an assumption that, okay, foreign exchange that we're going to use. Meanwhile, foreign exchange now is 900, okay, just for purpose of this discussion, okay? And I'm generating a financial plan. So will I use 900 in my plan? So in my projection, I decided to use 1,100. It is 900 now. So I project that we will be using all of those plans because we're going to bring in things from abroad, from Europe, from China. So we factor them in that is at a rate of 1,100. Yeah? And then as everything is done, I take it to my financiers. They sit down on it. They look at it. Of course, they will pick the indices we saw today under my energy expenses. Under my energy expenses, where I'm going to spend money on running my vehicles, my diesel, my gas, and what have you. I've already picked it that petrol today is probably 600, okay, for purpose of discussion. But in my financial plan, I have used 700. Diesel today is 800. I've actually used 900. So they've picked all that. So I underestimate my revenue. Yeah? In my usual way, when I do such plan, for a manufacturer, we actually wish and make 30 days a month. We want to see us putting the machines to use as a manufacturer. But in my own scenario planning, I will probably use 22 days, okay, for a month. And then my 1 year is 11 months. So I run my financial plan out. I have been extremely conservative in my revenue. I have over-provided for in my expenditures. So I give it to them. But guess what? What these guys, these number crunchers will do to me. They will pick my plan. The very first thing they will do is they will then begin to generate scenarios. Why are they generating scenarios? They will do until they go into what they call worst case scenario. What is a worst case scenario? They can then take it and say, run that entire financial plan, run it on $1,500 to Naira. Of course, you are the only say, no, it's not. No, you guys don't want to. You don't want to finance this thing. Why will you be running? They just say, just relax. They are well schooled. They are coming from what they call trend analysis. They have looked at over 3-5 years trend of movements of dollar in rates. Yeah, Bro Favor knows this very well. They've picked all these things. They've seen the trend. And because of that trend, this is a 5-year plan. So they say, look, run it on 1.5. Run diesel on 1,000. Run petrol run it on 1,000 because they will soon be at the same parity. And I'm like, this is crazy. I can't run with this. And when they run it on it, it's an Excel. They will just change those assumptions. As they change it, the number starts misbehaving. And what has been showing green, suddenly started showing what? Red. They are comfortable. They are okay. They just want to see the impact. If the red dimension is so bad, as in bad, they then come up and says, the next question they will then be asking, which you will soon see, if this scenario happens, what will you do? And you will soon see that. So those are scenarios, as it is to big organizations. That is why PZ will be in Nigeria for the past 60 years. And Oluwalambe Lodge Enterprises Limited died after 2 years. Cadbury is in existence 60 years. Shell is here. Shell has been here before whether First or Second World War. They've been here. They survived the wars. They survived Civil War. They are still here. But Anderson and Mark International, which we both formed, died 5 years into the line of the war. Because it's the same strategy I've been carrying. From onset, I still continue to carry on. Shell looks at this and says, hey, no, these dynamics are changing. Some oil companies are selling off their assets and leaving the country. It's a strategy. It's a strategy. They've looked at it that, sorry, in the way we are now, let's go and breathe somewhere. But we'll keep our eye here. They are not ready to give up on the 220 million naira market. That's a 220 million population market. It's the market they are looking at. No, not that, okay, Tinubu is our friend or Buhari is our enemy. No, they're not interested. But if the trend change in the next 2 years, you'll be amazed. They will come, maybe in the same way or in another color. And they come with a big bag, ready to buy up some businesses, reharness, reposition, and they are back again to the market. It's a strategy. One of our major problems here is that some of us don't even know how to say no. We put emotions to it. Emotions doesn't cut it. Emotions doesn't cut it. Yeah, and learning to say no is a skill many of us need to go and learn. It's a skill. There's a violent no, and there's a peaceful no. May the Lord grant us understanding. Oh, sorry, I said it's a training. Okay, so let's go to risk management. 2 slides off. Yeah. So from scenario, as you look at those scenarios, there are always, life itself is a risk. The 4 lepers, they took a risk. They took a risk. If we sit here, we'll die. It's a risk being here. Famine will kill them. But if we move, it's a risk. He said, we may enter into the hands of the enemy, and before we know it, something else may happen. And what happens? He said, we'll be in a mess. We may be killed. But by adventure, we'll eat first before we even die. So let's move. So what will you do here is identify the risks, assess it thoroughly, review your control elements, and then you'll be able to control it. You cannot deliver on things you cannot control. It is emotions for you to say, well, I don't even know what to do, but I know. Let's just leave it, Sha. No. We began to learn to do. If you decide to stay on what you are doing, it is a strategy, a conscious strategy. But if you choose to shift and change, you take a whole pack into consideration, not because people are saying so, but because you are well informed to do so. Okay? Next slide. And then this helps you to understand in your business variable things that could happen. Down on the line is the significance of the risk. How significant? Is it insignificant to what you intend to do or your business? Is it a minor thing? Is it significant? Is it major? Is it going to be catastrophic? And I'll give an example. And on the side of likelihood of event, of an occurrence happening, let's say, for instance, the foreign exchange again. Yeah? Is it likely it will keep changing? No, it's very rare. But you and I know. Where will you place the foreign exchange? Where? Under likelihood. Where will you put it? It's likely. But some persons, you will put it unlikely. This is where you see risk natures. For me, who is a risk taker, I can tell you it's possible. Do you understand? My own region of mind is possible. A fearful person who normally will avoid any risk, where do you think he will put it? He said, no, it's there is a lion in this way. It is certain. It's a certainty. Now, when it is insignificant and it is rare it will happen, what do you say the risk is? Is what? It is insignificant and it is rare it might happen. It may actually not happen. It's not important. It's a low risk. It is green. But for people who are in trade, let's say an example of all gay stores that source their goods from abroad. They don't make like shoes here. And that's the main thing they sell. So what are they going to use to buy it? They're going to use foreign exchange, isn't it? So where do you think they will place in area of significance of foreign exchange in their business is what? Very significant. As a matter of fact, for me to put it, I would rather put it on major or it's a catastrophic impact. Because without dollar, they cannot procure. Do you understand? And if it is on major, for instance, and the likelihood that dollar will continue to change, for them, it's not about possibility. It's very likely. And it is almost what? Certain. So where do you see their risk focus? It's either extreme. It's not only high, it's an extreme risk. So what that will inform the strategy they will need to put in place for them to remain in the business. And a whole lot we can say there. But if they want us to say more, they should consult. We know things they should be able to do. But all those ones cannot be given for free. They're making money, they should learn to spend money. And the next slide. If you understand this then take you to this. Risk management models. Because it is likely, low, medium, high, and the impact on my business is low, medium, high. For them, the impact on their business is what? High. And the likelihood that it will happen is what? High. So, what is going to be their focus? Now, let's break it down. If we ask them, what do you mean by intensive management? One, they will now begin to look at where they are sourcing those items from. Are they going to do sales? When do they do sales? Their eyes must be where? On the ball. And they must be what? Information alert. Because if they do sales, they can then mitigate and grab it. What they are supposed to buy, at for instance, maybe £100 per pair, they are probably getting it at 80 or so. So they can mitigate. Do you get it now? So these are the impact-focused planning and management. If it is medium, but they know the impact is very high, likelihood it will happen next, maybe we've gotten to the plateau of the indices of foreign exchange, then we'll be saying it requires monitoring and continuous management. So risk management comes along with your scenario detailing. And that's what brings us into the next slide, quickly. Adapting now to changes, the focus of this seminar. You've understood change, it will happen. You've understood all of the scenarios you need to look at in your decision-making process. You need to look at various risk elements. Because what is riskier to Olge might not be riskier to me, as it were, okay? So, different things for different people. And here, we look at different things. You need to accept it. It's a reality. You need to have a positive mindset. You cannot be negative. You need to be flexible. This is important. Be open to adjusting. This is where many of us have serious challenges. Let me give, as it's just coming to me, because of benefits of some persons online. Let's look at school management. And we have some of our brethren that run school. What is the impact of the various indices we have looked at on school business? A lot. Oftentimes, I relate with lots of contractors. And somebody is telling me, I said, how much is this thing now? He said, okay, it has changed. It's now 14 naira per length. I said, between last week and now, he said, it's dollar. I said, did you take dollar to go and buy? He said, okay, there is a transference of effects, the multiplier effect, for you to understand the dynamics. But here you are. Because of changes in fuel price, your staff are clamoring for what? Increase in salary. The chalk you used to buy at 2,000 naira per pack that will last you for 1 week suddenly has become what? 5,000. And so many other things you use on the business. So you are bound to do what? To change. Now, here is your dilemma. You increase school fees. You have 100 people in school. And on an average, it's about 85 that pays. There is always this 15% that will just not pay. They come, sir, the Lord will bless you. The Lord, we know. They tell you all sorts of things and nothing is happening. So you have this 15% not paying. 85 is paying. So what do? And then you increase the fees. Then which means, very likely, that 15% that are not paying will increase to where? Not 20, about almost 30%. So if it goes to 30%, what happens to the business? So how then do you make an adjustment? Because you must adjust. These are the realities we are facing now. And you cannot put emotions to it. But again, the second crisis is if you send away all the people not paying, what happened to the school? So, be open to adjusting your plans, expectations, routines to accommodate the change. Embrace flexibility and adaptability as key skills to navigate the challenges. Next one, the next 5 minutes I should get done here. Yeah? Okay, and then you look into your goals. You take small steps. Yeah? Learn to take small steps. And from your small steps, you can do a whole lot of things. And then slide 3 of 3, learning and growing. It goes back to your learning, unlearning, and relearning. You don't get to the end. Keep yourself informed on things that are happening. And then you will be able to make necessary changes. Embrace uncertainty. It's here with us. It's a global issue. It's not just only Nigeria. Life in UK is very tough now. Very tough. Same in Canada. Same in everywhere. It's tough. And celebrate your progress. And then the next slide shows you this is what your adaptation experience to scenarios will look like in life. When you take off, we call that place that's covered with the screen ascending heights. You ascend so high, yeah? Joy in new starts and your journey. Then clear dashboard understanding. You know, it's the journey of life is like you have your dashboard. If it's giving you engine signal, you're expected to stop and check. There's a bleeding going on. But if you ignore every signal on your dashboard, the Lord helps you. The Lord causes his face to shine upon you. Watch your dashboard. Be focused and be positive-minded. Have a safe trip. So as you go on your journey, this is a road. You will come to your depressing lows when things does not seem to be happening. That may be the stage where you are. Take stock. Remain positive. Be confident and intensify your reviews. Unlearn again. Things you need to unbuckle. Don't let what you have known imprison you in your continuing moments, which is the challenge most of us have. Learn and then do what? Relearn. What do you mean by relearning? Take new understanding. Go through Google. Check, and check. You will be well informed. And then take on your journey again. You will be coming into recoveries, which we say your recovering times. Be cautious in your recoveries. Don't assume it's done and dusted. Like we heard in the first session, life is in what? It's in cycle. If it is low now, we're going to come into high times. We're surely going to come into high times. But we're also still going to come into what? Low times again. So what worked? Learn from it. Study trend and pattern analysis. Learn things. Take a study of your past. Blend it with available knowledge out there. And then you go on again. Something may happen again. Outside your control. That's what we see under the chain dynamics. That you see transformational. Those things outside you. You may come into discouraging lows again. Matthew 13:52 is my favorite scripture. It says, who is an informed scribe? He said, it is he who brings from where? Old. And what? And new. So Matthew 13:52 comes to mind. And then be encouraged. Strategic and vision reviewed. Be very positive and move more intentionally. I think I will stop here. We will probably take the rest of other things when we get into question and answer.